Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing a 6 Samurai deck profile. So I'm really excited this week guys, because this deck has one of the most powerful and archetype cards in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Gateway of the Six, and I've changed up my build a lot from the previous build, and I'm really excited to show you guys what I've changed up in this, because it is an extremely powerful deck that can loop monsters to get an insanely powerful board presence. So, without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards like getting your name in the description of every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to our patron along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing 3 copies of legendary 6 Samurai Kizan. Kizan is one of the most powerful cards in the entire deck for a simple effect that if you control another 6 Samurai monster with a different name, you can special summon this card from your hand, which is a great effect to be able to loop with cards like Gateway of the Six and just get a bunch of counters rolling with this card. We then play 3 copies of Grandmaster of the 6 Samurai. This card also is very much like Kizan because it has the ability that you can special summon this card from your hand if you control another 6 Samurai monster, but the only downside to this card is you can only control one of him. You cannot control 2 copies of him, which is totally fine because usually you're going to be linking the one away to be able to special summon another one onto your side of the field. We then play 2 copies of Secret 6 Samurai Kizaru. Kizaru is going to be the main card that you're going to be special summoning off your copies of Azul because this card has the ability, when this card is special summoned, you can add from your deck to your hand one 6 Samurai monster with a different attribute from every monster you currently control. And if exactly one 6 Samurai monster you control and no other cards would be destroyed by card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. It's a very powerful effect just to get you a search. The only downside of this card is you can't search Earth, and if you're special summoning off of Azul, you can't search Light. So you kind of have to be careful when you special summon this card what attributes you currently have. We then play 3 copies of Legendary 6 Samurai Shinai. Shinai is really good to combo with your copies of Mizuho because this card has the ability to control a Legendary 6 Samurai Mizuho, then you can special summon this card from your hand. And if this card is on the field or is tributed, then you can target one 6 Samurai monster in the graveyard and add that target back to your hand, which is a great effect just to give our monsters back to our hand. We then play 3 copies of Legendary 6 Samurai Mizuho, which combos really well with our Shinai because this card also shares an ability, just like Shinai, that if you control Shinai, you can special summon this card from your hand. And then once per turn, you contribute another face-up 6 Samurai monster, target a card on the field, and destroy it. So it gives you a little bit of spot removal, which is really nice for this deck, and just it's really nice to be able to loop them back and forth, special summoning them to the field. We then play 2 copies of Legendary 6 Samurai Kaigeki. Kaigeki is really good because upon normal summon, you can special summon another 6 Samurai monster from your hand, giving you those 2 monsters that you need on the field to be able to go into your copy of Azul, and it just overall helps the deck out a lot to play 2 copies of Kaigeki. We then play a single copy of Secret 6 Samurai Hatsume. Hatsume is a neat one-of in this deck because she can banish 2 6 Samurai monsters from your graveyard and her face up from your field, and then target a 6 Samurai monster in the graveyard and special summon it back to your field, which is really good to be able to combo with cards like your Legendary 6 Samurai Shien, where you're trying to get yourself a little bit of a negation on your side of the field, and she just helps out a lot in the deck to be kind of like a walking monster reborn. She's easily searchable in the deck because she's one of the only water ones outside of Shinai, so she's very easy to get to in this deck, and she's a really good 1600 attack point monster. We then play for our tuner monsters. We're playing a single copy of Fuma because Fuma's a tuna, and this card is really good because it's a level 1 tuner monster in the deck to let you go into a lot of different plays. We play a single copy of Shien Squire. Shien Squire helps out in the deck a lot too because it is a Shien monster. It is easily summoned to the side of the field, and it's a warrior monster as well, so you can summon it from a bunch of different ways, but this card being a level 1 tuner that's an earth helps out the deck a lot because with your copies of your Kizan and your Shien Squire, you can actually go for an Echuria Beast. We then play a single copy of Great Shogun Shien. Great Shogun Shien is really good because if you control 2 or more 6 Samurai monsters, then you can special summon this card from your hand to your side of the field, and your opponent can only activate 1 spell or trap each turn, which is a very powerful effect just to be able to make it so your opponent can only activate 1 spell or trap because you kind of get to pick and choose exactly what they get because you have your copies of Legendary 6 Samurai Shien and you have Great Shogun Shien, so it kind of locks them down where they kind of have to pick, and you get to pick what they activate because you get to pick if you negate the first one and then they can activate another one, or you let that first one go through and then they're locked into spells and that 1 spell or trap for the rest of the turn. We then played 2 copies of Fire Flint Lady. Fire Flint Lady is just here for an additional special summon from our hand to give us an additional monster on board, because if you control a warrior monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, which is a great effect just to get us an additional monster on the field. And then we play a single copy of Immortal Phoenix Gearfried. Immortal Phoenix Gearfried is a great card in this deck to have you additional walking negation. It's a 3k beat stick, and it's easily one of the best cards to search in the deck off of your copy of Awalt. You just have to banish an equip spell from your graveyard or your field to special summon this card from your hand, and at the start of the damage step, if this card attacks you, and equip one face-up monster on the field to this card a maximum 1, and as an equip spell that gives it 500 additional attacks. And when a monster effect is activated, quick effect, you can send a face-up equip spell you control to the graveyard, negate the activation, you do destroy that card, which is a great effect just to give you additional walking negation. So, that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Reinforcements of the Army. We are playing a warrior deck, so this card comes in very handy to play Rhoda. We're playing a single copy of Monster Reborn. It just gives us additional extensions in the deck to be able to go in for additional plays. We're playing a single copy of the most broken card in Yu-Gi-Oh!, and that is a single copy of Gateway of the Six. This card at any more than 1 is absolutely crazy. I love this card in this deck. As you guys have seen last month with the FTK build, this build is just not an FTK build. You're trying to swarm the field and get an insane presence. But this card is really, really good because it has the ability, each time a 6 samurai monster is normal or special summon, you place 2 Bushido counters on this card. And you remove Bushido counters from this card to activate different effects depending on the amount that you remove. If you remove 2, you can target a 6 samurai or Shien effect monster. That target gains 500 attack. Meh effect. The 4 effect is going to be the main one that you're going to be activating all the time. You remove 4 counters from this card to add a 6 samurai monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand, or the 6 effect on some instances, where the 6 effect is you can target a Shien effect monster in your graveyard and special summon that target, like your copy of Shien Squire or your copies of your Great Shogun Shien is another monster that you can actually special summon out. But the 4 effect is going to be the one that you're going to be activating all the time, giving you searches, and it's not once per turn, which is what's so insane about Gateway of the Six. We're then playing 3 copies of Shien's Dojo. Shien's Dojo is really good because each time a 6 samurai monster is normal or special summoned, you put a counter on this card, and then you can send this card from your field to the graveyard, and depending on the amount of counters it has on it, depends on the level of the 6 samurai monster you can special summon from your deck, which is a really powerful effect. You can also special summon Shien monsters off of this, so if you can manage to get out like 7 counters on this, you can special summon out Great Shogun Shien, or if you just put 1 counter on it and you summon out a Kizam, you can actually send this to the graveyard and summon Shien Squire, which will get you into a copy of Naturia Beast because they're both Earth, which is the main way that I'm actually using this card. Or I'm using this card to actually remove counters for Gateway, because Gateway can remove them from anywhere on the field. We're then playing for a little bit of draw power. I'm playing 3 copies of 6 Samurai United. 6 Samurai United is an awesome card in this particular build because it has the ability that each time a 6 Samurai monster is normal or special summon, you can put a Bushido counter on this card. But this card has a limit. It's the only card in the deck that actually has a limit to the amount of counters it can have, and it goes up to 2. You can send this card to the graveyard to draw a card for each counter it had on it, so you basically can get a draw 2 off of this card. If this card did not have a limit, this card would be busted. We then play 3 copies of Shien Smoke Signal. Shien Smoke Signal is really good because it searches any of our level 3 or lower 6 samurai monsters from our deck. So you can search out your copies of Mizuho, your copies of Shinai, Hatsume, Fuma, any of those monsters, Kaigeki, any of those monsters that you particularly need, you can get it with this card, so that's why you play it as a 3-up. For the equip spells for Awalt, I'm playing a single copy of Durandal because it works really well with my Fire Warrior monsters. Living Fossil because it's an additional Monster Reborn. 1 copy of Moon Mirror Shield because it does catch the opponent off guard to make a monster that they really can't deal with by battle. 1 copy of DDR. DDR comes in handy sometimes because you will banish your 6 Samurais every so often with your copy of Divine Sword Phoenix Blade. So there is instances that you can actually use DDR in this deck. But one of my favorite ones in this entire deck is the Moon Mirror Shield tech, because Moon Mirror Shield, if you do draw into it, you do get some really insane plays where you can summon out a copy of, say, Shien that your opponent can't deal with by battle, which is usually its weakness, that you can equip it to the Shien, and then now they can't deal with its spells or traps, and they can't deal with it with monster attacks, so the only way that they can deal with it is monster effects. And you have cards like your Appaloosa and your copies of Immortal Phoenix Gearfried to protect it, so you get all these really cool plays. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the extra decks because we actually don't play any traps in this build. So, for the extra deck, we're playing a single copy of Legendary 6 Samurai Shien. This card is absolutely crazy. It has the ability that once per turn during either player's turn, when an opponent activates a spell or trap, you can negate the activation if you do destroy it. That's a really powerful effect just to give you a spell and trap negation. I love this card, but you really only need it as of one of. We then play a single copy of Shadow of the 6 Samurai Shien. This card is basically here for the name, because you can overlay into this card to give you additional Bushido counters on your copy of your Gateway of the 6. We then play 2 copies of Battle Shogun. Battle Shogun is absolutely insane because it searches Gateway, because it has the ability, if this card is Link Summon, you can discard a card to add from your deck to your hand one card that has the ability to put Bushido counters on it. So you can search out Gateway, United, Dojo, any of those cards that you need. This card has got you, and it can also hold counters because if you special summon a monster or normal summon a monster whose zone this card points to that just so happens to be a 6 Samurai monster, it gains a counter on it itself, which is a powerful effect because then you can start looping, because as long as you can put 4 counters per summon, you can keep looping through your monsters. We then play a single copy of Appaloosa just to give us those additional monster negations, which is really good. 2 copies of Yugioh because it helps us dig through the deck. 1 copy of Appaloosa because you really only need the 1 copy of Appaloosa. You don't really need more than, or not Appaloosa, but Azul. Isolde is only a one-of in here, because Isolde has the ability to search a warrior monster upon summon, and it lets you send equip spells from your deck to the graveyard equal to the level of the monster you're trying to special summon, but it really gives you a little bit of versatility with this card. I just like it as a one-of because the extra deck is very, very tight. We then play a single copy of Borreload Savage, because Borreload Savage helps out the deck a lot, just to give you the additional negations, because you can use something like a Fuma plus a legendary 6, or a copy of Great Shogun Sheen to go into this card. There's a lot of different ways to actually go into your Borreload Savage in this deck, which is why I play it as a one-of in here. We then play a single copy of Natsuri Beast. This card is absolutely crazy against any spell-heavy deck. It's very easy to summon in this deck. It just requires an Earth and a non-Earth monster, or Earth and a Earth Tuner and a non-Earth Tuner monster. So you're going to use your copy of Shien Squire plus Kizan to summon this card every single time. It's very good in this deck, and it just gives you all sorts of spell negation. So this card is very, very good. It just basically eats Sky Striker, which is awesome. We play a single copy of Herald, because Herald's easy to summon and it's a walking negation. We play a number 60, because number 60 lets us draw 2 and discard 1, so this card's very, very good. It lets us, then we play a single copy of number 49. Number 49 is really good because it helps us go into Zeus, Downer Magician, and then double A Zeus, because sometimes if we lose Gateway, you do want to be able to board wipe, so I do use the double A Zeus to be able to board wipe my opponent, just in case they get rid of Gateway. So, that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. It's a really fun deck to play around with. I really love this build of the deck, because you get to do all sorts of crazy stuff with your copies of your 6 Samurai monsters, summoning out your copy of Legendary 6 Samurai Shien, going in for Grandmaster, cards like Kizan just loop over and over again, and Gateway just being one of the most powerful cards in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is absolutely absurd. So, anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.